Hello, and thank you for watching. My name is Bradford Roberts, Principal Broker, Founder, and Owner of TR Realty in the Las Vegas area. After watching this video, please be sure to like it as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel. Download the pertinent handouts for this video by clicking the link in the comments below. Now let's get started. This video is entitled Class 4 Seller Excellence, and the segment is entitled MLS Input. You are required to enter a listing into MLS within 2 business days of the seller's signature. Did you get that? Within 2 business days of the seller's signature. This rule is a bit different than most rules we follow that actually are dependent upon having an effective agreement. This is different for a reason. In the past, listing agents and listing brokers would intentionally not sign listing agreements so that the clock wouldn't start ticking, and that would give them a de facto pocket listing. So the rule changed. Real estate agents who are realtors are required to put a listing into MLS within 2 business days of the seller's signature. So when you get a new listing agreement, make sure you email it to compliance for my signature as soon as possible. We do not allow pocket listings. MLS is going to automatically assign an MLS number. I do get that question quite a bit. Where do I get an MLS number? When you put a new listing into the system, it will be automatically assigned. There's a relatively new thing in our system called Coming Soon. Coming Soon still requires a fully effectuated listing agreement. Some agents think they can go in, put something in the system, and they don't have a listing agreement. It's not the listing agreement that's coming soon. It's the showings on the property that are coming soon. This is supposed to be used for repair issues or any other issue that the seller is not quite ready to go public with the listing, not quite ready to allow showings. If you put a listing into MLS in the coming soon status, it is not going to go to Realtor, it is not going to go to Zillow, etc. And the maximum time that you can leave it in coming soon is 30 days. And I want to circle back to something that I talked about in an earlier video in my Class 4 video series, and that is the new policy that took effect several weeks ago, known as Clear Cooperation. Clear Cooperation says we cannot advertise a property to the public in any way unless other realtors are given the same opportunity. So we can't keep a property out of MLS, or we can't have it in coming soon status while we ourselves are showing the property, putting up a sign, putting it on our website, putting it on our social media. That is Clear Cooperation. Remember, it is an integral part of the Realtor pledge to cooperate with other realtors. And here at TR Realty, everything, I said everything, goes into MLS. Even your own properties. Even in situations where you have a buyer before you've had the opportunity to put the property into MLS. Everything goes into MLS, even your own properties, meaning properties that you personally own. Everything goes into MLS. There are no exceptions except for seller consent. And until recently, we had a form known as an MLS exclusion form that has been taken away from us. So some of you might be thinking, okay, Brad just said there's no exceptions unless there's seller's consent. Brad just said the form has been taken away. So how the heck do we do that? We do that via paragraphs 19 and 21 of the new ER that I went over in this class series, Class 4, the listing class. So everything goes into MLS unless the seller tells us otherwise. I want to bring your attention to my next handout in this video, which is the residential data form. Can you please get that in front of you now? It is way too lengthy for me to go through this line by line or section by section. So I want to talk to you about the purpose of this form. Go ahead and scan through it as I'm talking. The residential data form is used when you are out on the property so that you can take your measurements, you can talk to the seller, you can count the ceiling fans, you can ascertain which way the property faces, all of those things. We write those things on that data form. The reason we do that is so that when we get back to our home or to our office and we are about to put that property into MLS, we have all of that data in front of us. So it is the residential data form that is used as the vehicle where we indicate the property specifics and then we retain that. And I want to give you a little strategy that I used to use when I was selling real estate. I would have my sellers initial the data form. Now, as I say that, you're probably looking around on the form to try to find a place for initials. And there isn't a set place for that. I acknowledge that. However, I would have my seller's initial somewhere on each page, out in the margin, top, bottom, it didn't matter. The reason I did that is because, and this never happened to me fortunately, but if I were ever accused of putting inaccurate, erroneous information into MLS, perhaps I misrepresented the number of ceiling fans that would convey with the property, I had the seller's initials on the form, indicating that the data was either provided by the seller or approved by the seller. It wasn't something that I was doing on my own, and I felt that that could limit my liability. So that's a little bit about the data form. Please acquaint yourself with it when you have ample time to do so after this video, but I highly recommend that we use the data form every time we are taking a listing. When it comes to putting your listing into MLS, you got to get it right. This is the face of the property, and if you misrepresent or if you do a sloppy, half-assed job putting your listing into MLS, you're going to anger your seller, you're going to reduce showings, you're going to reduce the attractiveness, and ultimately this is going to come back and make you look bad as a professional anyway. So get the right information, get it in the right places. Things like pets, as an example. If you're not careful and you're lazy and you want to get it done and you say, oh, no pets in the community, do you know how many prospective buyers you could lose because of that careless and inadvertent information that you put in MLS? These are the things that you've got to get right because these are searchable by buyer's agents and these can really make a difference. And if you get things wrong, don't be surprised when MLS sends you a nice little fine, okay? Things like room sizes have to be accurate. The status, when the status changes, when you accept a contract on a property, you've got to change that status in MLS right away. Otherwise, agents are going to go and show the property and invest their time, and then the property is not available. Folks, we have to get this right. Things like directions to the property, okay? If you want to say things like left and right, it depends on which way you come from, which is left and right. So we use words like east, west, south, and north. We want to get the schools right. The showing information has to be accurate and current. We have a section called public remarks. Public remarks. Guess who gets to see that? Yeah, the public. We have to be careful what we put in there. But it does give us a good amount of space that we can use to be descriptive and make the property look attractive. We should do that. We should use that space. You have to be careful of what we call prohibited words. Now, if you're putting a listing into MLS, don't be surprised when you type something and you get a little squiggly red line under the word that you typed. That little squiggly red line is a caution to you. Let me give you an example. Let's say you type the word Mexican, and you use the word Mexican referring to people, and you say something like, this is a lovely Mexican neighborhood. Do you think that's okay? You think it's acceptable to say that? Yeah, totally not, right? That is an absolute violation of fair housing. It is steering It is a crime, it is a violation, and it is just wrong to do that as a person. If you are saying that the kitchen has Mexican tile, you're perfectly okay to use the word Mexican. But when you type that word, you're going to get that red line warning you to be careful about how you're using the word. And there's a lot of prohibited words, some that you probably couldn't even imagine are prohibited. So when you get that red line, be careful. We never want any accusation of discrimination or steering or anything like that. Be careful. Bad spelling looks unprofessional. I want to share with you my favorite misspelled word of all time. Now, this is something that the spell checker would not have picked up. But I remember many, many years ago, I was looking through MLS for a buyer, and I came across this house where the kitchen was upgraded. And the listing agent, who was with a different company, thankfully, she was going on and on about the kitchen. And she was saying, check out the cherry cabinets, check out the marble countertops, check out the stainless steel appliances. And then she said, check out the walk-in panty. Just the omission of the letter R, pantry, panty, made a big difference. You know, all these years later, I still remember that misspelled word. So folks, you don't want to be the laughing stock. You don't want to be the butt of the joke. Make sure your spelling in MLS is accurate. Get someone to look at it, copy and paste it into a spell checker, do what you need, but bad spelling looks unprofessional. I want to circle back and talk about photos one more time. I remember 100 years ago when real estate agents were so happy that we could put a photo into MLS. A photo into MLS. Imagine the technology at that time. We were so happy to have that. And then one photo became two photos became four. And as of the filming of this video today, we can now add 50 photos into MLS. That is amazing compared to where we were before. And folks, if you've got the technological capability to put 50 photos, guess how many you should put? Photos sell properties. Photos get showings. This is what your seller would want. Why would you not take advantage of the amazing capability and technology that we have at our fingertips? If you're going to put photos in MLS, as you should invariably every time, make sure that you include photos of the front of the property. We have to show the front of the house. That is MLS policy. And here's something very interesting. This is a recent development. If you put only one photo in MLS, which would be foolish, but let's say you put only one photo, it has to be of the front of the house, the front of the property. If there's only one single photo, it can't be the kitchen, it can't be the backyard, it can't be the community sign when you come in off the street. It has to be the front of the property. Here's another interesting rule that came around recently. You can't use the same photo twice. I know agents will do that by accident. They'll take tons and tons and tons of pictures. They're putting 50 pictures into the system. They might show the same thing twice. You're not allowed to do that. You can't use the same photo twice. That is a violation. And something I mentioned a bit earlier was that we should not include a photo that contains any excluded item. And I think I mentioned the chandelier as an example. So if the seller says, I'm taking this or taking that, and we're talking about real property, not personal property, it's assumed that sellers will take all of their personal property. But something like a ceiling fan or a chandelier or a built-in bookshelf, if the seller is taking that, we probably don't want to have any photos in the MLS system that contain images of that item that's about to be taken. I am aware that the MLS system will automatically put a disclaimer in every listing. I know that. However, I like my own disclaimer as well. It is a double prophylactic, it is redundant, I understand that, but when it comes to protecting myself, my company, and my license, I don't ever find anything wrong with redundancy. So, I'd like to bring your attention back to the clause library. Please go ahead and get that in front of you. That is one of the handouts. And I would like to bring your attention specifically to clause 4.04, which says, all information contained herein intended to be accurate, but should be independently verified by any interested parties. And this is something, as you can clearly see, if you're looking at the clause library right now, you can clearly see I recommend this goes in all listings in the public remarks section. All information contained herein intended to be accurate. It means I didn't intend to misrepresent or make any kind of mistake, but should be independently verified by any interested party. So if somebody really cares if the living room is 17 feet long or 18 feet long, if that makes a difference, then they need to go in there and they need to do that measurement by themselves. So again, as a caution, as a layer of protection, go ahead and please put that language into the public remarks section of every listing you put in the MLS system. And lastly in this segment, I want to mention that if you get a notice of violation from MLS, and these are very common, by the way, if you get a notice of violation, they typically give you 2 business days to correct it. You better stay on top of your email, because if they're kind enough to give you that grace period of a couple of business days to fix an error and you don't be surprised when you get a fine from MLS. It goes on your account and you're going to have to pay that. I would like to thank you for watching this video. I hope it was informative for you. If you are licensed with another brokerage in Southern Nevada and would like to talk with me, please text me or visit our website. See you next time.